All right, let's dive into something fun today.
Right.
Dog fashion. I mean, you hear that and you're either rolling your eyes or you're thinking, "Ooh, puppies."
Right.
But we're going to go a little deeper than that.
Yeah.
And we're actually looking at the Paw Talk podcast as our source material today.
Okay, great.
And they really go in depth about the kind of like the rise of dog fashion. I mean, it
really is everywhere now.
It's exploded.
It's not just a little niche market.
Right.
I mean, you see it on social media. You see it in these like high-end specialty stores. You even see like runway shows for dogs now.
I know. And it's
wild.
It's so funny because like, you know, they were giving this anecdote about a dachshund in a tuxedo and you're like, well, that's adorable.
Of course. How can you not?
But is it really for the dog?
Right. Yeah.
Or is it for us?
That's the big question.
And I think that's kind of the crux of a lot of the arguments, like people who are saying like, oh, this is just vanity for the owner. It's all about Instagram. It's not really thinking about the dog's well-being.
And the Paw Talk podcast really highlighted that, like, that is a major argument against it, is that it's, you know, it's more about us and not about the dog.
But there was a really good point that they brought up, which is that for some dogs, clothing is an actual necessity.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's not, you know,
not just a fashion statement.
Like a Chihuahua, you know, like that was
Lasha.
bred in a warmer climate. They have very thin coats.
Yeah.
And, you know, if it's the dead of winter and there's snow on the ground, like that dog needs a sweater.
They need something
to
stay warm. Yeah, for sure.
Warm, right?
Yeah. And I think they mentioned greyhounds too, right?
Yeah.
Like greyhounds with their, you know, really thin build and their very, very thin coats.
They can get cold easily.
Oh, yeah. Even on like a moderately chilly day.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be freezing or anything like that.
And raincoats, too. Like, raincoats benefit everybody.
Oh, I love a good raincoat on a dog. Because, you know, then you don't have that wet dog smell after you take them for a walk in the rain.
Exactly.
Keeps everybody dry and happy.
And they also brought up, like, the medical reasons.
Right.
You know,
Oh.
if a dog has surgery, a lot of times they have to wear clothing to, like, protect
the site, yeah.
the site or to keep them from scratching, you know. So there are definitely reasons why.
Reasons.
Yeah, why dogs wear clothes that are not just for like, look at my dog.
Right, exactly. But then, of course, there's the flip side of that.
Right.
Which is like, you know, you've got your dogs in tutus and superhero costumes and...
Princess dresses, sunglasses.
Like, when does it become too much?
Right. When does it go too far?
Yeah. And, you know, I think that's where they really emphasize, like, responsible dog ownership.
Yeah. Being a responsible owner.
And reading your dog's body language.
Yes, exactly.
Because if your dog is like, I hate this thing you put on me.
Yeah.
They can't really tell you. No, they can't say, hey, get this off of me. But their body language can tell you a lot.
But they can show you. So pay attention to that. And so then they lead into like, okay, so you're thinking about clothing your dog. Here are some tips.
Okay, good tips.
And like the first one that they bring up is fit.
Yeah, fit is super important.
Because you don't want it to be too tight.
No, you don't want it to constrict their movement at all or be uncomfortable.
You don't want it to be too loose.
Right, because then it becomes a tripping
Yeah.
Especially for like little dogs with little legs.
So it's finding that right balance.
Yeah, finding that sweet spot.
And then they talk about the fabric.
Yeah.
You know?
So this is important.
Yeah, a lot of people maybe don't think about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just look at how cute it is.
Right.
But you got to think about, you know, what's it made of? Is it soft? Is it breathable?
Yeah, they're going to be wearing this for hours.
Exactly, yeah.
You don't want them to be uncomfortable.
We don't want to put them in something that's going to irritate their skin.
Right.
Yeah, it's got to be comfy.
Exactly. Just like with our clothes.
Exactly. We wouldn't want to wear something itchy and scratchy.
Nobody wants to be uncomfortable.
Right.
And then they had this other really good tip, which was like, if you're introducing clothing to your dog for the first time, start small.
Yeah.
Like, don't just go whole hog.
Don't put them in like a full body snowsuit right off the bat.
Yeah. Put like a little, you know, a lightweight vest on them. Let them kind of get used to that sensation.
Yeah, get them used to the feeling of something on their body.
And then kind of, you know, add more as they get, you know, accustomed to it.
Yeah, exactly. Ease them into it.
And that all comes back to like, you know, prioritizing their well-being over just style, right?
Exactly. It's not about what looks good on Instagram. It's about what makes your dog comfortable and happy.
So it really sounds like dog fashion is this, you know, kind of, it can be an exaggeration, but it can also be a necessity.
It can be both.
It's both sides of the coin.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. It's this mix of like the fun and the frivolous, and then also, you know, the real practical needs of some dogs.
And it's about recognizing both sides of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And finding that balance for your own dog. Yeah, finding that balance is key.
And that leads into like one of the questions that they ask in the Paw Talk podcast, which I thought was really fun, was like, okay, so if dogs could choose their outfits,
Oh, that's interesting.
what do you think they'd actually pick?
Huh. Well, I mean, I can tell you about my dog.
Yeah.
My dog would probably skip all the like crazy costumes.
Yeah.
And just go straight for like the ultimate comfort.
Right.
Like the softest fleece she could find. Just for like lounging around the house.
Oh, I can totally see that. Just like, yeah, I'm good. I'm comfy.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe some dogs are like secretly fashionistas.
Maybe, you know, like they want to strut.
Right. They want to show off a little bit.
Maybe they want a cool raincoat. Oh yeah, like a stylish raincoat.
Or like a, sporty little sweater.
A little sporty sweater. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it probably depends on their personality, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Like an active dog, out hiking and doing stuff.
Right, yeah.
They might actually enjoy a like well-fitted vest.
Yeah.
For like their outdoor adventures.
Yeah.
Where the more laid-back dog might just want a comfy bandana.
Yeah. I like that.
Keep it simple.
Dog-driven fashion.
There you go.
That's what we need.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder, like, if they could choose, would they choose like colors they can actually see?
Right.
Would they go for practicality over, just looks?
That's a good question.
Like what would it actually be?
Yeah, it's fascinating to think about.
Yeah, and I think it just kind of underlines the fact that each dog is an individual.
Absolutely.
And what works for one dog might not work for another.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
That's totally fine.
It's about them, not about us.
Right. It's about finding what works best for your individual dog.
Right.
And their needs.
Yeah. So it's not a one size fits all.
No, definitely not. When it comes to dog fashion, I think, this whole deep dive has really brought us back to this idea of like,
yeah,
it can be a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
If it's approached thoughtfully and responsibly.
Right.
But it should always be about enhancing the dog's life.
Right.
Not about, following trends or getting likes on social media.
Totally. And I think that's a really good point to make, because it's so easy to get caught up in that stuff.
Oh, it is, especially nowadays.
But, at the end of the day, it's about our dogs.
Exactly.
And their happiness and their comfort.
Absolutely. Their well-being comes first.
So, yeah, the Paw Talk podcast really, really did a great job of kind of, emphasizing that.
Yeah, I think they did too.
And so, we're left with that question, like, what would your dog wear?
Yeah, what would they choose?
If they could pick.
It's fun to think about.
It is.
Maybe they'd surprise us.
Right.
Maybe they'd choose something totally unexpected, or maybe
nothing.
Yeah, maybe they'd choose nothing.
Yeah.
And remind us that, simple is good sometimes.
Sometimes simple is best.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's a really good, point for all of us to remember, which is like, pay attention to your dog.
Yes.
Listen to your dog.
Listen to their needs.
And, make choices that are good for them.
Exactly.
For us.
Because ultimately, their happiness is what matters most.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
It's funny. I think before we started this deep dive, like if you had asked me about dog fashion, I would have been like, oh, yeah, that's silly,
Yeah, I get that.
But it's so much more than that.
It really is. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah. And it's like, it really does all come back to that question of like, are we doing this for them or are we doing this for us?
Yeah, it's a good gut check.
It is.
To kind of examine our motivations a little bit.
And make sure that we're putting their needs first.
Absolutely.
So I think the Paw Talk podcast did a really good job of like highlighting that and bringing up these different points.
They really did.
And they ended with this question that I just think is so fun to think about.
What was that?
If your dog could choose their outfit,
oh, yeah.
What would they pick?
I love that question.
It really is. Like, it sparks your imagination,
It does.
Like, what would they actually want?
It makes you wonder if they would go for something totally different than what we would pick for them.
Right.
Or maybe they'd choose nothing at all.
Maybe they'd just be like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, just let me be a dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a good reminder too,
Yeah.
Sometimes less is more.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to our furry friends.
Yeah, I think the takeaway for me is just like, listen to your dog, pay attention to what they're telling you.
Yes, exactly.
And, make sure that the choices that we're making for them are actually benefiting them.
And not just us,
Yeah.
It's about them. It's about their happiness and their well-being.
And that's what really matters.
Exactly.
Well, this has been a really fun deep dive.
I agree.
I think we learned a lot.
Yeah, I know I did.
And hopefully our listeners did too.
I hope so.
So, next time you see a dog in a cute outfit, maybe, just take a second to think about, like, is this really for the dog?
Yeah.
And is everybody happy with this situation?
Good advice.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us today.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.